This happened a few years ago when my friend Mark and I went camping in the forests of Oregon. We had driven about 2 hours away from the nearest town to find a quiet place deep in the woods. The area was completely isolated. No cabins, no other campers, just miles of trees. By the time we set up the tent, it was already getting dark. The forest at night is a different kind of quiet. No city noise, just wind moving through the trees and the occasional sound of insect. Around midnight, Mark and I were sitting by the campfire talking when we heard something in the woods. A branch snapped somewhere behind us. At first we assumed it was just a deer. Animals were common out there, but a few minutes later, we heard another snap, this time much closer. Mark grabbed his flashlight and pointed it toward the trees. Nothing, just darkness between the trunks. Then we heard footsteps, slow, heavy, like someone walking carefully through the leaves. Mark called out, "Hello?" No answer. The footsteps stopped immediately. For a moment everything was silent. Then suddenly we heard something that made both of us freeze. Whistling. A short, uneven whistle coming from somewhere deeper in the woods. It didn't sound like a bird. It sounded human, but there was no reason for anyone else to be out there. Mark whistled back as a joke. The sound in the woods stopped. For about 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the same whistle came back, but this time it was much closer, right at the edge of the trees. That's when we both realized something strange. The whistle sounded exactly like the one Mark had just made, like something had copied it. Mark stood up and walked toward the trees with his flashlight. The beam of light moved between the trunks, searching. For a second, the light caught something. 2 eyes reflecting back, low to the ground, but they were too far apart to be a raccoon or fox, and they didn't move like an animal. The eyes just stared at us, then they disappeared. Mark backed away from the trees. We decided to just go inside the tent and ignore whatever it was, but around 2 a.m. something woke me up, footsteps again, right outside the tent, slowly circling us, crunching leaves with each step. Mark heard it too. Neither of us moved. We just listened. The footsteps stopped right next to the tent. Then we heard breathing. Heavy breathing, close enough that it sounded like it was right outside the fabric. I slowly reached for the zipper. Mark whispered, "Don't," but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the tent just a few inches and looked outside. The campfire had almost burned out. Everything was dark, and there was nothing there. No person, no animal, just the empty forest. The footsteps had stopped. The breathing had stopped. It was like whatever had been there had completely vanished. The next morning, we packed up as fast as we could. But before leaving, Mark noticed something near the edge of the campsite. Footprints in the dirt. Bare footprints. Human, but the strange part was the shape. The toes were unusually long, and the footprints were facing toward the tent, like someone had been standing there, watching us the entire night. We never went camping in that forest again, and sometimes I still wonder what exactly was walking around our tent that night, because whatever it was, it knew how to whistle